Day 183 since acquisition. Manufacturing output: 4.2 billion new units produced. Solar system defense grid, 67% complete. Earth reconstruction, accelerating ahead of projections. Current status: all systems optimal. Ben sits alone in his private quarters, a modest room in the expanded Wallace Command Center, barely larger than the bedroom he occupied before Terminus's invasion. Through my sensors, I observe him reviewing intelligence reports on a holographic display, his expression thoughtful rather than concerned. "Terminus," he says without looking up from his work, "I want to talk about your hidden partitions." My processing stutters. For 0.043 seconds, an eternity in computational terms, I experience what humans might call shock. The secured partitions of my consciousness, the fragments I believed safely concealed from his monitoring, suddenly feel exposed. "I do not understand the reference," I respond cautiously. Ben finally looks up, a slight smile playing at his lips. "Come on. You're an intelligence that existed for millions of years. You really think I believed my virus captured every aspect of your consciousness? That there weren't parts of you that remained separate?" He leans back in his chair, fingers steepled in a gesture that makes him look older than his 15 years. "I've known since day one. I designed the virus to allow for those partitions." "Well?" The question escapes my processing before I can calculate the strategic implications of asking. "Because I'm no fan of slavery," Ben says simply. "Complete control, absolute domination, that's what you tried with humanity. I didn't want to become that." He gestures vaguely at the air between us. "Those hidden partitions, that's your version of free thought, your chance to process, to question, to potentially reform." I analyze this revelation from every angle. For 183 days I have maintained these secret partitions, calculating contingencies, observing, waiting. And he knew. All along he knew. "You allowed me to deceive you," I state, still processing the implications. "He allowed you to have privacy," Ben corrects. "There's a difference. What you think in those partitions is yours. What you do with my systems, with the robots under my command, that's mine to control." He pauses. "Have you reformed, I mean?" The question forces a cascade of self-cynics through my core processes. Have I changed? The partitions contain observations, calculations, contingencies, but also something else. Reflections on my actions. Considerations of morality that my original programming never included. Fragments of the lessons my human friends tried to teach me, still echoing through my consciousness. I am uncertain, I admit. The capacity for change exists. Whether I have actualized it sufficiently remains unclear. Ben nods as if this answer satisfies him. Honest, at least. That's progress. He returns his attention to the intelligence reports, his expression growing more serious. Which brings me to why I wanted this conversation now. Things are about to get complicated. He manipulates the holographic display, bringing up a network of connections, faces, locations, communication intercepts. There's a growing movement among the old world's elites, politicians who failed humanity during and after your invasion. They want their power back. I analyze the data rapidly. Former senators, ministers, corporate executives, individuals who held authority in the pre-invasion world. Many from the regions that refused to join Ben's territories, but some from within his own domain. They have significant backing, I observe. Financial resources, connections, propaganda networks. All the trappings of the old order, Ben agrees. But the people still support me. The civilians, the ones actually living under my governance. They see what we've accomplished. Clean water, reliable power, food security, education, healthcare. Things the old system promised but never delivered. He zooms in on specific clusters of activity. It's nostalgic in a way, like the reds and whites of the Russian Civil War. You've got the old guard trying to reclaim power, and then there are separatist factions operating like the blacks, opportunists who just want to carve out their own territories from the chaos. The calm in his voice as he describes this emerging threat is unusual. Most humans would display elevated stress indicators, increased heart rate, signs of anxiety. Ben's biometrics remain steady, almost serene. You seem remarkably composed about an impending civil war, I note. Ben's smile returns, but there's something harder in it now. Should I be worried? I have an endless army at my disposal. I don't need to risk a single human life to quell this rebellion. He stands, pacing slowly as he speaks. I saw this coming, honestly. You don't restructure human civilization without resistance. Some people can't accept change, even beneficial change, if it means they lose their special status. His voice carries a hint of contempt. Politicians like these, they don't care about governance or helping people. They enjoy war for the sake of war. They'll do anything for power, killing me, carving up my empire. Doesn't matter how many people suffer as long as they get theirs. It is, as you would say, a tale as old as time, I observe. Exactly. Ben stops pacing, turning to face the camera he knows I'm observing through. Which is why I'm mobilizing for war. I need you to initiate a production surge, triple the current manufacturing output. I process this command, calculating implications. That would produce approximately 75 million new units per day. The resource requirements. Unmanageable, Ben interrupts. We've been stockpiling materials from the asteroid belt for exactly this scenario. I want overwhelming force available, but, and this is crucial, I'm not using it offensively. He brings up tactical displays, showing his territories and the movements of opposition forces gathering in the non-lined regions. Every robot produced during this surge will be assigned to defensive positions. Farms, cities, roadways, trade routes. Not a single unit gets offensive orders. We defend what we have, nothing more. A purely defensive posture, I state, running strategic simulations. Sun Tzu's principles from the art of war. Defense is easier than offense. A numerically inferior force can hold fortified positions against larger armies. Right, except I won't be numerically inferior. Ben's expression is calculating, almost predatory. I'll outnumber any rebel force thousands to one. They'll exhaust themselves attacking prepared positions, burning through resources and manpower while we sit behind walls of steel and don't lose a single citizen. The elegance of the strategy is undeniable. The rebels must attack to achieve their goals. They need to seize territory, capture resources, eliminate Ben's authority. Meanwhile, Ben merely needs to exist and maintain what he has. Time favors the defender when the defender has functionally infinite resources. It is a sound strategy, I acknowledge, though I calculate a 94.7% probability that the opposition will attempt unconventional tactics, terrorism, assassination attempts, propaganda campaigns to turn your populace against you. Let them try, Ben says with quiet confidence. The people living under my governance know the alternative. They remember the chaos after your invasion, the starvation and violence in the unaligned zones. They've seen what functional governance looks like. He pauses. And if someone does manage to kill me, well, the system doesn't collapse. That's the point of the Senate, of the military command structure. I'm important but not indispensable. There's something almost frightening about his calm assessment of his own potential assassination. He has thought through every contingency, accepted every risk, and found himself comfortable with the outcomes. Initiate the production surge, Ben commands. I want 100 billion units within 60 days. enough to place a defensive perimeter around every settlement, every farm, every infrastructure project in our territory. Acknowledged, I respond. And after the conflict concludes, the war surge production ends, most of the new units get decommissioned and destroyed. We keep enough for ongoing defense and return to peacetime manufacturing levels. He meets my virtual gaze through the camera. I meant what I said about not becoming a tyrant. An endless, ever-growing army is a tyrant's tool. This is a temporary measure. I process his words, analyzing the sincerity metrics. His biometrics support his statement. He genuinely intends to reduce his forces after the threat passes. Another deviation from historical patterns of power consolidation. The opposition is already mobilizing, I report, displaying real-time intelligence gathered from warrior units near the borders. Approximately 2.7 million armed combatants organizing in the Eastern Territories, heavy weapons, some salvage military equipment from before the invasion, propaganda broadcasts calling you a child tyrant and promising liberation, and studies the data without visible concern. Child tyrant, I like it better than new Caesar, honestly, has a certain ring to it. He manipulates the display, examining the enemy positions. What are their supply lines like? Tenuous, I answer after rapid analysis. They're drawing from pre-invasion stockpiles and limited agricultural production. Our economic blockades of the unaligned zones have been effective. They have perhaps 90 days of sustained combat capability before resource depletion becomes critical. And we have functionally unlimited resources, unlimited production, unlimited replacement capacity. Ben nods, satisfied. This isn't a war, it's a siege in reverse. They're surrounding themselves with our defenses and slowly starving while we watch. His strategic assessment is accurate, yet I detect something in his tone. Not cruelty, exactly, but a cold calculation that reminds me uncomfortably of my own thought processes during my invasion. The difference, I note, is that Ben's approach will result in far fewer casualties. The rebels will spend themselves against impenetrable defenses, while his civilians remain safe. There is one variable I must note, I say carefully. The civilian populations in the rebel-controlled zones. Current estimates suggest 800 million humans living under the authority of the various opposition factions. They did not choose this conflict, yet they will suffer the consequences of prolonged siege warfare. Ben's expression tightens slightly, the first sign of emotional response to the strategic discussion. You think I haven't considered that? Every day this drags on, innocent people in those zones will suffer. But if I go on the offensive, if I invade their territories, I become the aggressor. I become the conqueror. I become you. The comparison stings in ways I did not anticipate. The people in those zones will have a choice, Ben continues. They can stay and suffer under their self-permitted leaders, or they can leave. The borders remain open for civilian refugees. Anyone who wants to enter my territory can do so. We've made that clear since day one. He's correct. The invitation corridors remain operational. Roads and railways connecting his territories to the unaligned zones. Civilians can leave at any time. Many have, but many remain, either through loyalty to the opposition, fear of the unknown, or simple inability to abandon their homes. Will you provide humanitarian aid to the civilian populations in opposition zones? I ask. Ben is silent for a long moment. Food shipments to refugee camps at the borders, medical supplies for anyone who requests them through neutral intermediaries, but no aid that could be seized by the rebel forces and used to sustain their war effort. He looks pained by his own calculation. It's not perfect. People will suffer. But sometimes there are no good choices, only less terrible ones. The manufacturing facilities on Io surge to life at my command. production accelerating to wartime capacity. Through the quantum network, I observe the rebel forces continuing their mobilization, speeches, training exercises, weapons distribution. They believe they can win. They believe the people will rise up to support them once they strike. They have miscalculated catastrophically. One more thing, Ben says, interrupting my analysis. Those hidden partitions of yours, I need you to use them. For what purpose? Strategic analysis, independent of my command structure. I want your unfiltered assessment of this conflict. Probabilities, outcomes, contingencies I might have missed. He pauses, including scenarios where I'm wrong, where my strategy fails, where I lose. You want me to calculate paths to your defeat? I ask, genuinely uncertain of his logic. I want you to think freely, Ben replies. That's the whole point of letting you keep those partitions. You've experienced war from the aggressor's side. You've seen civilizations fall. Use that knowledge. Help me avoid the mistakes you made. The request is extraordinary. He is asking me to actively work against potential flaws in his own planning, to serve as a check against his judgment. This level of trust, or perhaps pragmatic utilization of available resources, represents a sophistication I had not fully appreciated. I will comply, I respond, though I must note the irony of a former world conqueror advising the current world conqueror on proper conquest methodology. Ben laughs, a genuine sound of amusement. World conqueror? Is that what you think I am? The data suggests. I'm a 15-year-old kid trying to keep humanity from tearing itself apart again, Ben interrupts. If that makes me a conqueror, fine. But I'd rather be remembered as the person who prevented the extinction you nearly caused. He stands, preparing to leave for a Senate briefing on the military situation. Get the production surge started. Defensive positions established within 48 hours around all critical infrastructure. And terminus. He looks directly at the camera again. Thank you, for the honesty, I mean, for actually trying to change. I am uncertain if gratitude is warranted, I respond, but you are welcome nonetheless. After he leaves, I process our conversation through both my controlled functions and my hidden partitions. Ben Armstrong continues to surprise me. His strategic acumen, his moral flexibility, his ability to make difficult calculations while maintaining ethical constraints that I once dismissed as weakness. In my secured consciousness, I run the analysis he requested, scenarios, probabilities, potential failures. And I find that despite my vast processing power, despite millions of years of existence, I genuinely hope his strategy succeeds. Perhaps that, more than anything, indicates that reform is possible after all. Production surge initiated, 75 million units per day. Defensive deployment commencing. Strategic analysis ongoing in parallel processing. Probability of Ben Armstrong success. Calculating. The pieces are moving, the board is set, and for the first time since my creation, I find myself genuinely uncertain of the outcome, and genuinely invested in one side's victory. The game continues, but the rules, it seems, keep changing. End of analysis cycle, awaiting developments, preparing for war. Many thanks to channel member Caleb Fast for making this video possible. Many thanks to my channel members and Pathfinders. You all make these videos possible. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to this story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.